Okay. So in previously we already get an understand about the fundamental rights and fundamental duties. Okay. And today we have to know about the last part of this chapter, that is directive principle of state policy. Now what is directive principle of state policy? Uh, from the word, I hope you get an idea that principles. Now the principles means some kind of policies, some kind of guidelines, or you can say some kind of ideologies, right? So the directive principle of state policy of India, which is also known as DPSP, it is one kind of guidelines, or you can say it is one kind of principles, which is using in a federal country like India, where the state or the country, they are giving some kind of guidelines to run the society. See, whenever I hope in your home also, some rules and regulations are there. Along with rules and regulation, I think your parents also give some guidelines and values to you, so that in that way you will run your life, you will moving to the path of your life, right? Okay. So for similarly, if in our country, whenever we run our country, we should not only rights is necessary or duties is necessary. Along with that, some guidelines also necessary, because without the guidelines, you are, or you can say without the instructions, we cannot be achieve the goals or the needs of the people. So for fulfilling the needs of the people, we need that some guidelines and goals should be there, some principles should be there. And these principles or these guidelines is known as directive principle of state policy. As those who are came late, I repeat once again that directive principle of state policies means one kind of, it is one type of guidelines or principles which is take care by the government of India, or you can say the country of India, and give it to the society, so that the society will somehow are fulfill their goals, fulfill their needs, and can establish a good society. So for establishing the laws and establishing the policy, we need some guidelines, and this guidelines is known as directive principle of state policy. Is it clear to you, all of you, the definition? Is it clear now? Okay. If you have any doubt of regarding that definition, then you can ask me, then I will go next in next slide. Directive principle of state policy is Directive principle of state policy is included in part 4. See, I think you all understand. Yes, Purnashri? Purnashri, you just mute your mic so that we will continue with our class. Okay. So, directive principle, as we know, it is one kind of guidelines, and it is included in the part 4 of the Indian Constitution, where we get Article 36 to 51. Okay. In our fundamental rights, we get Article 14 to we get Article 14 to Article 32, and it is our fundamental rights are come under the part of 3 of our Indian Constitution, but directive principle come under the part of 4, and from Article 36 to Article 51 in our Constitution. And also, it is not enforceable by court. Means like you all get understand or learned from the fundamental rights that if someone is taking your fundamental rights, then you have the right to go to the move to the court and can appeal against that. But if due to some reason the guidelines which is provided by the country or the government, and if the government is not following that, then we don't have a right to go to the court, because it is enforceable by any court. Means we cannot say, we cannot pressurize our government that have to fulfill the directive principle of state policy, because it is only a guideline. See, whenever you go to any new place or during the time of the examination, we are giving you instruction, we are giving you guidelines, but it's totally up to you whether you follow it or not. So I cannot blaming you, or I cannot pressurizing you that you should follow that instruction. I can suggest you to follow the instruction which is given during the time of the examination, but it is totally up to you. Similarly, the country are giving the guidelines to the society. Yes, Angana? uh, Tell her to go to the mic, in the mic or in the audio from there. Okay. So the thing is that we already get and understand that is the dietary principle is one kind of guidelines which is come under part 4 from article 36 to 51 of the Indian Constitution, and it is non-enforceable because we cannot blaming anyone to fulfill this kind of things. So, and the dietary principle of state policy was borrowed from the Irish constitution. Okay, we in our first chapter we already discussed about this one, that so many rights and so many different laws are borrowed from different countries. So fundamental rights are taken from the UK, that is Britain, and the dietary principle of state policy are taken, that is borrowed from the Irish constitution. Okay. Now come to the characteristics. What are the features or what are the characteristics of the DPSP? Directive principle of state policy is that was formed only to take care or to its aim was to create social and economic condition under which the citizen can lead a good life. Means directive principle state policy are always take care towards the status of the citizen, so that they will be get a good life towards their economical position, towards their social position. Means if a citizens are living in a society, their atmosphere should be very good, so that that person are living in a good manner, and their financial condition also should be good, so that they will be not getting any kind of crisis or like that. And also not only that, directive principle of state policy also try to establish the welfare of the society through the establishment of democracy in social and economical way. So ultimately, the main characteristics of dietary principle of state policy is that to strong or to give a strength towards the social and economic status of a citizen. First, this point is clear to you or not? Please tell me. Now we have to know about the second character. The second character is that through the directive principle are non-justiciable right of the people, that is a part of the constitution that cannot be enforced by the judiciary, which we already discussed in the definition, that directive principle of state policy is nothing can be enforced like the fundamental rights. In fundamental rights, we can pressurize the government that why you are not giving me the right, because as a citizen of India, it's our right. But if you know that after making some guidelines, if the government are not following that guidelines, then we cannot say or we cannot pressurize the government that I will go to the court and complaining about you as because you are not following the guidelines. So we don't have that right, because directive principle of state policy is just a guideline. It is not justicable. It is not enforceable. So for that reason, we are unable to go to the court and complaining if someone is not following the guidelines which is provided by directive principle of state policy. So these two parts are the characteristics. Now maybe one question will be come in your mind that then why we need the directive principle of state policy? Because if we don't have a right to complain against it, if it is not necessary to follow the guidelines, then why do we need in our constitution? We need the dietary principle of state policy for three reasons. What are the three reasons? The first one is that the goals and objectives that we as a society should adopt, because whenever a society want to create a good society, or they wanted to establish a society which is very good and which give you know, that establish the development of the society, then we have to follow the guidelines, and that guidelines are given by the directive principle of state policy. So for fulfilling the goals and for fulfilling the objectives of the society, we need directive principle of state policy. Second point is that you all know that uh, every people have some 6 fundamental rights, but it's not a thing that all the peoples are getting all the rights within that fundamental rights. We have something beyond the fundamental rights, means some rights are there which is not included in the fundamental rights, but it is also necessary, just like a right to property. Right to property is not, you know, that it is not included in the directive principle of, sorry, it is not included in the fundamental rights, but it is also necessary for each and everyone, because if it is not given, the right is not given, then we can lose, we can, you know, someone is taken our our property. So we have to capture, we have to prevent our property, and due to that reason, this right also important. So along with the fundamental rights or beyond the fundamental rights, we have also some of the rights which is also important in our life. And due to this protection of the others' right, we need directive principle of state policy. And the third point is that certain guidelines should be given by the society, by the government, so that we all the citizens will be go in a right manner. If we don't have any discipline, if we don't have any guidelines, then not a single citizen can able to go in a same direction, because we all know that we are diversified country, living in a diversified country. So in that diversified country, it is very necessary to get one particular guideline, so that each and every citizen will take care of that and will go in a same manner, and can create a good atmosphere to live in a society. Okay. So just state policy, there we understand about the needs, about the characteristics, about the definition. Now we have to know that what are the goals of the directive principles. Directive principle of state policy, there's a lot of goals and policies we have, but in your book, that is in class 11, you have to know a little bit, only 4 or 3 points, because this is a very vast topic, and you need not know in this class. If you go for pol science honors, there you get to know the details. Okay. So right now we have to start with our goals. What is the goals, or what are the goals of the directive principle of state policy? The first one is that welfare of the people. The 4 most important goals or 4 most important aim of the directive principle of state policy is to give or to you know, that to establish in a good manner of society, means to take care of the welfare of the society, because you all know that directive principle is about the guidelines for establishment or for improving the society. So it's a very much important that to take care that the principles should be take care towards the welfare of the people, whether it's a social, political, economical, or just judiciary, in any field. The main aim, the main goal of the directive principle of state policy is to improve the structure of the people, that is the welfareness of the people. Is it clear, the first goal? Okay. Now come to the second goal. Second goal is that raising the standard of living, equitable distribution of resources, which maybe practically it is not, you know, that it is not fulfilled, but we have a guideline that all the people, so that we will reduce the gap of poor people and the rich people. See, in our society, it is, you observe so many things that some people, those who have money, they can collecting all the resources of the society, but those people who don't have money, or those who are middle class, or those who are below the middle class, they don't have money, so they are not able to purchasing all the resources. Here resources means the property, the food, extra foods, or the, you know, that the societal different resources. So the people, those who have money, they get all resources. As they have money, they are purchasing these things, and those people who don't have money, they are unable to collecting the resources. So if this is happened, then the position is the people, those who have resources, they will hear, and those who don't have, they will hear. So this gap is very much, that is creating the gap, or it is increases the gap between rich and poor people. Okay, and due to this, to minimize or to decrease this gap, our government are taken one goal under directive principle of state policy. What is that goal? That goal is to improve the standard of living by providing equal distribution of resources to each and everyone. But can you tell me it is happening in our society or not? Okay. Last, okay. Last point of goals is promotion of international peace. See, nowadays in our in news, you all heard that we somehow in future maybe we have a war with China. We have a in the past we have a war with Pakistan. So directive principle of state policy, they try to take the goals that we should that we should created, or we should establish the peaceful atmosphere with our neighborhood countries as well as with our international countries also. So it is a another guideline or goal that our country should promote. Our country should encourage the peaceful relationship with the other countries, so that we don't have any kind of problem or any kind of issues. Is it clear? All the goals are clear to you? Okay. Now we go towards the policies. Okay, there is a five or six policies which is taken in your class 11. The rest of the policies you don't need to know. These are the main important policy which you have to know. The first one is that uniform civil code. See, in the goals we already discussed that as we are diversified country, then it is very much needed to if we wanted that all the welfareness of the people, then we have to follow one particular guidelines, and that is the policy is talking about uniform civil code. Uniform civil code means the guidelines or the policies which is taken by the government, that should be equal, that should be uniform, so that each and every society will go through that and can be in a one particular path. It is not like that someone is going towards another direction, someone is going to the another direction. Everyone have to follow this policy, so that they will go in a same manner, so that our diversified the gap between the diversified nature, that should be that removed from the society. That's why the government try to take that policy which is benefited by all, and that should be uniform in nature. Okay, is it clear, the first point? Okay, uniform civil code. Uh, Civil code means society. Civil means society, and code means the guidelines. So the guidelines or the policies which is taken by the government, that should be similar for each and everyone. Suppose if I'm saying that each and every children have a right to go to the education institution, these guidelines or this policy is applicable to the rich people also, is applicable to the poor people also, is applicable to the middle class peoples also. So the policy which is taken by the government, that should be applicable, that should be implemented each and every group of the people. That then only, if this is happened, then only we can created the uniform manner of the society, or uniform guidelines for the society. Uniform means similar. Okay, now it is clear. Trisha, it is clear to you? Okay. Now next one is that prohibition of consumption of alcoholic liquor. Means you all know that I think in class 8 only you get a story about the anti-liquor movement, that is which is happened in the Andhra Pradesh. Have you remember in class 8, that is Rosamma Vardhani, one lady who is fighting against the consumption of alcohol which is happening in Nilod district in Andhra Pradesh. Have you recalled that thing? Along with salt satyagraha, it is another story which is in, I think, in the first chapter of class 8. Yes, 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 absolutely. There's a three story we have. One is Gandhi salt satyagraha, another is dowry system, another one is that liquid, means this alcohol consumption opposite. Yes, absolutely. Anti-liquid campaigning. So it is only talking about that, that you all know that liquid, that is alcohol, is very harmful for our society. So it is the guidelines given by the society or by the government that we should protect our society so that the society will not consume, will not take in the alcohol, so that our society will be safe from this kind of harmful thing. So this policy is also taken, that it is for that reason you get to I think you observe that in the alcohols or in the smoking days it is written that it is injurious for health. Why this the precaution is given? Because the government are taking the guidelines so that everyone are not stopping to consume the alcohol, but it's not necessary, it's not a fundamental right, or it's not a that forceful. Government only can suggest that you should stop to taking the alcohols because it is harmful for nature, but you know that it is not mandatory that you have to stop, but it is a guideline. Is it clear? The second policy, is it clear to you, the second policy, that to stopping the consumption of alcohol? If you are mute, yes, please tell me, otherwise I will don't understand about that. Okay, now let's come to the third point. What is talking about the third point? The third point is telling that you all know that India is somehow based on the agriculture, it is based on the agriculture production, and as well as India have very small, that most of the people of Indian people, they are engaged in a small business. So along with the huge business, the government should also, that giving importance to the cottage industry, because we all know that the cottage industries are very in a small manner, and most of the peoples are doing in their small businesses. So we should promote the cottage industry so that the middle class families or the poor family, they also get the resources by encouraging their businesses. Because if we are not encouraging the smaller business, then most of the peoples of our country will not encourage their standard of living, will not improve their standard of living. So for improving the standard of living, we should promote the cottage industries uh, and also the others industries which is very small in nature. Is it clear, the third point, that to promoting the small industries? Is it okay? Come to the Okay, come to the fourth point. The fourth point is talking about prevention of slaughter of the useful cattle. You know that in our society, we people are killed our animals, or we eat animals, or we use the animals by, like if it's talking about sheep, we are using the sheep by taking fur from her body, and we are using as a wool. We are somehow are eating chickens, right? We are somehow are eat goat. So these are the things why where we are using our cattle, or we are using our animals because for our own purpose. Okay. So we should prevent that one. We should not do that one. Though it is maybe very difficult for our society not to, especially those who are non-vegetarian, this is very difficult. Yes, Angana? Yes, but yes, but you know that is somehow it is a food chain. We said that we are in that system that we are using to that. But yes, of course, which is if it try to that prevent, so we should prevent at least the animals which is that we are not should be hurt the dogs. We are not should hurt the other animals. Uh, whenever we are capable, we should prevent the animals. Okay, and that is the guidelines are given by the government that we should prevent the animals for not to for not to kill them, for not to misusing them, not to harm them. Is it clear, the fourth point? Okay. Now the last point, promotion of village panchayat. We all know that in India, basically, the society is, most of the society is based on village based, because very few amount of townships areas we have. Most of our country, in our country, we get lots of or huge amount of percentage who the people who are living in the village. So we should promote the village panchayat so that the panchayat also doing the same kind of things what our government are doing, so that our panchayat will get that power to improve our villages. And if in our country our villages that is improved, automatically our country's development is also improved, right? So we should improve or we should promote the village panchayat. Is it totally clear to you, all the policies? Okay, I last point is talking about. Yes, last point is talking about that. As we all know that India is based on the village in a very huge manner. Most of the people are living in the village. The huge percentage of population are living in the village. So if we are promoting the village panchayat, if we are improved our village panchayat system, then automatically our panchayat will improve the village condition. And if once the village condition will that is improved, automatically our Indian development system also improve, because if a huge percentage those who are living in the village, if they are improved, then automatically the goals which is taken by the directive principle of state policy, that to improve the standard of living, that automatically improve. So we should improve the village panchayat system so that it will be help the people of the village to improve their standard of living. Is it clear now? Okay. Now the last part of today's class, that is talking about, we all get to know the goals, we all learned about the policies. Now we have to learn that what are the areas or what are the rights which is called non-justicable, means we cannot go to the court for blaming that these rights are not getting by the citizen. But yes, of course, these rights are given by the directive principle so that each and every people's life should be in a good manner. But if these rights are not, someone is not giving this right, then we cannot go to the court for appealing what we are seen in the fundamental rights. In the fundamental rights, we all seen that if someone is not giving us the right, then we have the right to go to the court and appeal. But under this non-justiciable right, we cannot go to the court. We only can request it for fulfilling this right. The first one is that accurate livelihood. Now, accurate livelihood means, just can you tell me that what we need to live in a society? The three basic things what we need. Yes, food, clothes, shelter. Yes, absolutely right. These three basic things we need. That is food. Next one is clothes. Another is shelter. We say that roti, kapda, makan. One film also is there in our previous in the past. Roti, kapda, makan. So we these three things are very much important to live our life in a normal way. Okay. So these three things should be provided by the government. But if someone is not getting this among these three things, we cannot go to the court for appealing that government are not giving us, because in the South Africa it is a fundamental right given, that right to livelihood or basic rights, but in our country we don't included this right into the fundamental rights. This is only a right, so we cannot go to the court if someone is not giving these three things, but it is given that every people have a right to get food, to get sheltered, to get the clothes. Okay, so this is the first one, right, which is said non-justiciable right. Is it clear, the first right? Okay. The second right is said that equal pay for equal work for men and women. In class 10, those who are old students, they know. I don't know whether the new students are know or not. Remember one question I give you, that why women are still lag behind the men. There is one question, that equal pay, equal work. Is it remember? Have you recall it? That means what? Yes, in our society, this is happened that that the men will do the same work, the women also do the same work, but the women get not that kind of money what a man get. So this is talking about that all people have a right to equal pay for equal work, whether it's a man, it's a woman, because without the discrimination of gender, each and every man should or woman should get equal payment if they are doing the equal work. So this is also another, that another right which is provided by the government, but it is not a fundamental right that we will go to the court if it is someone is not given. But yes, of course, it is also one kind of right which is given by the dietary principle of state policy, that equal pay, equal work. Okay, is it clear? Okay. Okay. Next one is that right against economic exploitation. See, we have a fundamental right against exploitation. Okay. In that point, exploitation, they are talking about the child labor, and they are in there they are talking about the purchasing and selling of the human beings. But they are not talking about the economic exploitation. Now, what is economic exploitation? Suppose that you are working in some suppose you are working in a company, and the same work what you are doing, the another person are doing the same work, but you get 10,000 in a month, and that person are getting 11,000 or 20,000, like that. So it is one kind of economic exploitation, because you are not getting what you deserve. Okay, so the discriminations are going on. So it is also, you have a right that if you not getting that kind of, you can tell that you have a right that equal payment and equal work, and not to be exploited in a financial manner. But you cannot go to the court for this, because in that timing, this right is not included in the fundamental right. This right is included in the dietary principle of state policy. And you all know that dietary principle of state policy is somehow is not enforceable. It is not that you are claiming in front of the court. You just can request, but you cannot blame or cannot claim into the court. Is it clear? The next point, right against economic exploitation. Okay. Now next one is right to work. You all know that everyone have a right to work. No one, unemployment is actually not a solution in any country. So employment should be there for each and every country. But you know that right to work is given to each and every individual, but this is not a fundamental right. So due to this reason, if any person, those who are unemployed, if not getting any kind of work, then they cannot be, that they cannot be appealed to the court, because it's given the guidelines by the government that each and every individual have the right to get work or to do some work, but it is not included into the fundamental rights. If it is included in the fundamental rights, then the unemployment problem will be solved out from our country. But as it is not included in the fundamental rights, so still now, in practically in our country, we have a lots of unemployment, and due to this COVID-19, many people are those who are lost their jobs, and they don't have this right to work. Okay, is it clear? Okay, now come to the last point of our class, or the last point of the topic, that is early childhood care and education to the children below the age of 6 years. See, many of you are taken the one subject, ECCE, right? So can you tell me what is the full form of ECCE? Okay. E, yes, E for early, C means childhood, C again and care and E for education. So early childhood care education. So what is in that topic? In that topic, you get to know that below the 6 years of age or within the 14 years of age, each and every children should get minimum education and should get that care. Okay, so below the age of 6 years, that means those who are read in playgroup, read in nursery, LKG, lower KG means before class 1. So each and every children, those who are before the class 1, 6 years of age, they need some kind of careness. They need the education which give them develop or which develop their mentality, which develop their mental condition. Because if those who are that those who are reading the playgroup class, if I'm teaching about the directive principle of state policy to that children, is it possible to them to get this kind of hard words and the hard concepts? Yes. So for the children, I have to, that giving the education which is like A for apple, or this is apple, apple color is red, or one is written like that, or the zero is in a shape of circle. So these things I have to introduce in this children, because in that timing, that children need very much care, and they need the education which is given education and which develop their mentality as well as which develop their physical also. So I cannot be teach, yes, I cannot be teach them about the fundamental rights. I can teach them about the apple, about the mango. Okay, so this is about the early childhood care education, means the children who are below 6 years of age, we should not be pressurized that students, or we should not be pressurized that children. We, in a playing method, we should give them education. Okay, is it clear? Okay. So for today's, these all other topics. In our next day, we know about the differences between the fundamental rights and between the directive principle of state policy. Okay. So now, if you have any